There were condolence motions in the federal parliament and the New South Wales parliament yesterday for the bushfire victims. Now, they were passionate, emotional, and I'm sure they were sincere. But a condolence is not only sympathy and comfort and empathy and compassion, it's also support. Words in the parliament are empty if on the ground what should be happening is not happening. Now, you've seen the pictures we showed you last week. Put simply, we should be in reconstruction and recovery. Look at those pictures. Imagine the mammoth task. And for every block of land you see, someone's homeless. Their house, their car, their clothes, their documents, all their possessions, their memorabilia, their very future, now nothing more than rubble. And the guts of it is this: who clothes them? Where do they sleep? What do they tell their kids? How do they pay the mortgage on a house that doesn't exist? How do they repay the loan on a business that is no more than crumpled iron and discoloured brick? How do you wake up to that every day? An 80-year-old man wanted a generator. He had no electricity. 80 from Mogo. I visited there. I've seen the devastation. He asked for $3,000 from one of the charities. He was told they couldn't help him because his house wasn't burnt down. He was told it would have been better if your house had been burnt down. You see, what Richo and I were talking about last week, a nation not run by the people we elect, but run by bureaucrats. And remember, there are almost 1,000 homes destroyed in 2 shires in New South Wales alone, Bega Valley and Eurobodalla. Those people would normally be spending money in the community. They've got none to spend. So businesses that survived the bushfire are now being destroyed in the aftermath. 8 mobile phone towers have been wiped out across the state. Many of these communities have no mobile phone, no internet. And to our Victorian viewers, get me some detail. If you're running into brick walls, Alan Jones at 2GB.com. That's ALAN, Alan Jones at 2GB.com. No mobile phone tower, no mobile phone, no internet. Do these people wait for months before the towers are rebuilt? I don't want to be critical, but it's essential to be factual. A businessman to whom I spoke when we broadcast from Bateman's Bay last week wrote to me yesterday, quote, "Alan, we thank you for your support. Hopefully we'll see some action from the government to kickstart the recovery process. Sadly, though, I don't hold much hope in the immediate future as the light of support and leadership, which seemed to be so strong at the start, is fading for those who need it most."
Is that about the state or federal, do you reckon?
Both.
I know it's state responsibility.
Yeah, both, which is the reason, well, the federal are giving money, you see, but it's the reason we're doing it, because we're not going to let this thing die. I mean, the question asked over and over again is the same question asked by farmers suffering from drought, suffering so much they're now walking off the land. They say, but this money has been raised for drought relief. I cannot find anybody who's seen any of it. Where is it? $500 million, billion, B for billion, for bushfire relief. Rules, regulations, paperwork. Liz Innes is the outstanding mayor of Eurobodalla Shire. As I've said 1,000 times, and I'll say it again, do we have an inventory of which people had their houses burnt down? Were they families? Were they single occupants? How many people were involved? How many adults? How many children? How many businesses were wiped out, which includes rural businesses? How many people have lost their job because there is no job? How many businesses have had to close because there's no business being done? We've got 250,000 bureaucrats in Canberra. Can't they sort this out? People should be compensated. I've said, and Andrew Constance agrees, if someone is an unpaid volunteer and while fighting to save other people's property, he lost his own, my view is he should get $300,000 cash now.
Is that right?
Right now. Now, in what's known as the South Coast, Bundanoon, Kangaroo Valley, down to Lake Conjola, Narooma, Bimboka, almost 1 million hectares burnt. 10 fires still burning. Places like Maria still at risk. The victims include Robert Salway and his son Patrick, who died while defending their home in Wandella, close to Cobargo. The locals are organising scores of fundraising events. But we've all donated to help these people. The far south coast is Bega to the Victorian border. Impossible to calculate the hectares burnt, but there are 200,000 hectares of active fire ground remaining. 8 people have died in the southern region. Mental health teams have been deployed. To be fair, the army is helping to fix thousands of kilometres of fences, but people need money. The best way we can pay tribute to those who've been affected by the bushfire crisis is to give them dignity through decency. Imagine waking up each day, no home, no car, no clothes, not even a plate that's yours to eat from, depending on food from others, no bed, and the kids wondering where to from here. Release the money. Everyone of us knows about trusts. Families put money in a trust. Would we trust Andrew Constance, a hero in this area, a senior member of the Berejiklian government? Would we trust Liz Innes, an outstanding mayor of Eurobonalla, as you'll hear in a moment. Why not put millions of dollars into a trust? Andrew, Liz, and one other nominated person, let them administer the money. Get the money out now, your money, $500 million. Forget the government. Where is this money right now? No one can tell us. Andrew Constance and Liz Innes know virtually everyone who's been affected, and they know their needs. They don't need some unelected bureaucrat who's most probably never been to the area calling the shots about who gets what and when. Liz Innes, the Mayor of Eurobonalla, joins us from Canberra. Liz, thank you for your time. How are things going?
Look, I wish I could have good news for you, Alan, and say that, you know, they've been listening to us and that they've, you know, adjusted and that they're filling those gaps that we know are there. But unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, another week has gone by and reality is there's too many people still falling through the cracks. There's just not, the money is just not hitting those that desperately need it right now.
I read a piece at the weekend, Rebecca, we'll call her, Rebecca, and Graham, she said she was promised instant financial help from the Red Cross 3 weeks ago. She's heard nothing. Nothing. And Liz, you would know saltwater dream owner Dixie in Batemans Bay. You know her. She lost her home in the New Year's Eve fires. She only managed to reopen the store last week. She said, I went to the Red Cross after the fire and was told it would put $5,000 into my account. I've received nothing. I've received nothing. Where is this money, Liz? Where is it?
Alan, and I had another phone call yesterday from a distraught business owner, and again, she put in an application. She'd been told, you know, don't self-assess, put your application in. Now, her business, they say, wasn't directly impacted because it technically didn't burn to the ground, but she didn't have any electricity. She didn't have, you know, any power, any FPOS or those types of facilities. Ash and soot had been into her shop. There was no foot traffic because our highways have effectively been closed. And again, there's nothing for her. She's gone to the wall as well. So there will be countless businesses. And Alan, you know, these are going to be the mums and dads, small businesses that will help us get off our knees and help us employ people, which is going, you know, and people are proud, Alan. At the end of the day, they don't want to take these handouts, but they've got no choice and they need help now.
Good on you.
What about the banks? Are they behaving properly or not?
Well, they've got a mortgage. You've got to pay a mortgage on a house that doesn't exist.
So what does the bank
aren't
do?
going to wipe out people's mortgages. Yeah, look, what they're saying at the moment, and they are trying to do the right thing, but it's just not enough. But at the end of the day, they're saying, well, you know, we can kick the can down further down the road for you. We can, you know, make sure we defer your mortgage payments, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, that's really just...
Liz,
you know.
to Liz and Graham, let me just say this. And this is another metaphor of the problem. On March 18 and 19, 2018, that's nearly 2 years ago, there were massive bushfires at a place called Tathra, a little beachside town on the south coast. And it was caused actually by a failure in electrical infrastructure. Actually, that's irrelevant. But it destroyed 69 houses, 30 caravans and cabins, 39 houses were damaged. They're damaged. People lost everything. Now, at the moment, as I speak to you tonight, 2/3 of those houses haven't even been started in the reconstruction phase.
In 2 years.
2 years. Nothing's been started. Liz, are we going to get a Tathra down around Moruya and Batemans Bay?
Oh, absolutely, Alan, on a huge scale. I mean, the clean-up alone, we're talking hundreds of thousands of tonnes to clean up, and this is nasty stuff. This is stuff with asbestos in it. This is, you know, it's not just something we can take to our local tips and put in a big hole in the ground and be done with it. This is going to take considerable effort just in the clean-up phase, let alone when we start to actually rebuild. And, you know, I'm fearful that we're going to see tougher regulations and, you know, we're going to see stronger environmental laws, and I think realistically we need a task force to look at ways that we can make it easier for people to rebuild. We need to make sure that people who might have been living in unapproved dwellings are able to come forward and get a little bit of help and support from us. So, you know, look, we've got some good answers. It's just at the moment, nobody is willing to really take leadership on
Well,
this.
it's being done by
Nobody's
people
willing to make
outside.
some decisions.
Well, because the decisions are not being made by Liz. The decisions are not being made by Andrew Constance. Liz knows this scene backwards. She's the mayor of Eurobodalla Shire. She's lost about, I don't know, 450 homes. Bega Valley Shire's lost 350 homes. Liz, you know the person I'm speaking about, and I won't mention his name. Well, I suppose I'll call him Gary. You know him, and I know him. And he's got 5 kids, and 2 of them are not well. 2 of them have a problem. And he wrote to me yesterday, said, Alan, my kids are not handling things. It's getting worse. He said the counselling that was sent here is just Band-Aid, just a PR exercise. And he said, others are in the same boat. He said, what do I do? See... What do I do? See, Liz, who's got to wake up tomorrow and the next day?
How many people are asking that question?
That's it.
They should, Alan, they shouldn't have to be writing to you in desperation and asking, what can I do? We should be just saying to them, hey, you know what, we'll go to the principals of the school. I went and met with the principal of the Batemans Bay Primary School the other day, and it was, you know, it was quite sobering, actually. And he said to me, Liz, you know, the Minister for Education came and saw him and basically said, what can we do to support you? Now, the very first thing that they can do to support them is get into the schools mental health workers and fund it for the next 3 years minimum, because our kids are traumatised down there. If we think it's impacted us, and it has, think about those kids that, you know, they're back at school, which is, you know, good for them, they've got a little bit of routine, but we need to make sure that the support is in there. The other thing that he asked for, he said, Liz, we need some family support officers in the schools, he said, because families are falling apart, they're fractured, they're under so much pressure. We're hearing on a daily basis of couples splitting up, which leads to more disconcert for these poor little buggers that are going through what they're going through. And he said, and what's happening is because there's no one to help them, the teachers are having to step into that role. And they're under enormous pressure. They've been through this trauma too. So, you know, come on, get real,
but
get
see, Liz,
out here and give us some help.
Liz, just forget businesses for a moment. If we've had 1,000 homes that have been burnt to the ground, roughly 1,000 homes, how long would it take if a few bureaucrats got off their backside, and there's 250,000 of them in Canberra to start with, if a few bureaucrats got off their backside and made an inventory of all those names? So we knew Mr Richardson, we knew Mr Innes, Mr Jones, and we got the list. And that's where they are. And we now then know, one by one, we tick them off, and we allocate 500 bureaucrats to get off their backsides, get out of their air-conditioned offices and go down and one by one identify what these people are and what they need. And there's $500 million that can be used to provide some dignity and decency. And Liz, I just say this to you. I mean, we were just talking before in the program about this coronavirus in China. Well, China knew there was a problem in Wuhan, so they decided they have to do something as isolation wards. They have to isolate those people who were infected. So they decided to build a 1,000-bed hospital. 1,000 beds.
In 7 days.
10 days. 10 days, if you're fair dinkum.
That is extraordinary.
Yeah, but if you're fair dinkum, it can be done here. Depends on how many people you put on the job. Liz, I mean...
Alan, there's people right now down in Eurobodalla who are chomping at the bit to get stuck in and help us.
Yeah.
It's just right at the moment they're not being allowed to. You know, they're sitting on their hands. And these are good people. These are young men, old women that are ready to step up to that challenge. But, you know, we've got no direction. You know, we've got no money to finance it. You know, we shouldn't have to be made to be beggars in our own
You've
country.
got a state minister who's affected too.
Absolutely. Hear what Liz said. We shouldn't be turned into beggars. Liz, amongst the heavyweight people in government in New South Wales and Australia, how many have picked up the phone and spoken to you? The Mayor of Eurobodalla Shire?
None.
None.
The only one that I've been talking to is Andrew Constance, and as you know, Alan, mate, that guy deserves an absolute medal.
Yep.
And I have confidence that when I have conversations with him, he is sending it up the line. But, Alan, I can hand on heart say to you that none of those politicians have picked up the phone. And Alan, I'm willing to. I will go and meet with anyone. In fact, I'm in Canberra tonight because I've had some meetings today. I will meet with anyone to tell them firsthand what I am hearing on a daily basis from my desperate community.
OK, well, I'm saying what needs to be done immediately, create a trust fund, put the money into the trust fund and let Liz Innes and Andrew Constance and one other administer the dough. But how extraordinary. Here we are. This woman is the Mayor of Europe at Alishai and no one has spoken to her. Liz, we'll talk to you and we'll keep talking to you. You hang in there. You're a good lady, a lot of ability and a wonderful sense of community. Thank you for talking to us.
On behalf of my community, Alan, I am so very grateful for every effort and any help that we can get for our communities down there. We will just so graciously take it. Thank you.
Isn't it beautiful? Wonderful.
She's something, isn't she?
Oh, yeah.